Ah, the red pill. What are we going to do with all of these red pillars? These red pillars speaking into the camera with so much confidence and conviction, filling young men with rage, getting them ready to supposedly improve their dating lives. Well, look, the red pill does have its merits, only in the sense that there's a reason that it wins people over in the first place. There is a reason. There is something weirdly seductive about it initially to young men that gets them going, ooh, I think I want some of this. Now, this is not the case for all red pill dating coaches, but I have noticed that they are excellent at creating thumbnails. They often use AI art, they use something spicy, something explosive that grabs people's attention. They go, oh, I've got to click on this one. They usually create a good title for their YouTube video as well. And that's something that on a purely aesthetic marketing level, they tend to get right. Other people don't get that right quite as much. I will admit to sometimes being guilty of not getting it right all the time when it comes to marketing. But red pillars are fantastic at it. They're fantastic at speaking with confidence and conviction. They're fantastic at looking at the camera and telling these young men about how they have all of the solutions, how their problems with dating can be boiled down to some simple errors, and that if they just listen to the red pill dating coaches, all of their woes will be fixed. All of their woes with women and in dating will be fixed. If only it was that simple. Now, men can implement some of what the red pill dating coaches tell them, and men can sometimes be successful with that. They can, in the short term usually, not usually in the long term. Long term is a lot different from short term. What is sustainable for short term attraction and short term success in a relationship, if you even get to that point, is not always successful in the long term relationship. It's not always sustainable. And a lot of these red pill dating coaches, if you look at some of their histories, they don't always have that much long-term success. It really is illuminating. And that's not to say that that inherently makes everything that they say false, but it does show something. It does show something about the messenger. And sometimes, yes, sometimes some personal traits, some of the history of the messenger is pretty revealing, and it is probative of how valuable their message is. Not that it makes it totally irrelevant or totally wrong, but that it's probative. It tells us something about what types of relationships they have. There was a dating coach who said you should only listen to the advice from people who have the type of relationship that you want. Think about that. Why would you listen to some red pill dating coach who is struggling to get into any type of long-term relationship, who's constantly just leading to breakups, who's just full of drama, full of resentment toward women? You know, red pill, obviously, what do they get right initially? Another thing that they get right, and this is not just the marketing or anything, they say you need to not care about what other people think. Well, you know what? If you don't care that much about what other people think, that can help you. That can be something that reduces your stress levels. That can be something that makes people go, oh, maybe this person's doing something right. Maybe this person's got something going on. You know, they don't seem to care what I think. And other people will sometimes compare their insides to your outsides. They'll look at your outsides and be like, wow, they look so happy-go-lucky. They look so impenetrable. They look so unperturbed. Why? They must be doing something right, and I must be doing something wrong, because again, people compare their insides to other people's outsides. They think about their insides, all their worries about finances and dating and all this stuff, and am I gonna get the promotion? Is my boss gonna give me my quarterly bonus? Oh no. And they look at other people's outsides and they're like, that guy is really calm. That guy is really confident. He must have it all together. He must have it all together. When in fact, he does not. Sometimes the issue is that red pillars teach men to be repressed. They teach men to repress their problems. To say, oh no, I'm not going to show any worry about anything. I'm not going to be bothered by anything. Now, it does seem pretty alpha, you could say. And I know alpha is not necessarily the best term to use. It's kind of antiquated, but it seems alpha, it seems commendable to go around like, I am not bothered by anything. But think about it. Is any person genuinely not bothered by anything? We all have something that bothers us out there. We all have something. We all have some behavior from friends, strangers, our partner, husband, wife, that pisses us off a little bit. So when we don't say something about it, when we just let that fester, it can lead to problems later on in the relationship. And you might think you're cool by being like, I don't care. I don't care. I just don't care. I'm not bothered by anything. But the reality is you might kind of be lying to yourself. You know, you might just be lying to yourself. And when you lie to yourself, you do inevitably lie to others. When you go around thinking, oh yeah, I've got this all figured out, and you don't have it all figured out, that's disingenuous. And sometimes people can sense that. And then later on, when you're in a relationship long term, years down the road, your partner realizes that you've been repressed. They say, oh, this calm attitude that you've had, this calm attitude, this cockiness, this never being disturbed, never being perturbed by anything, it was all a front. You were repressed. And that's going to be a bad look, because chances are something is going to come up that is going to piss you off really bad, and it's going to cause you to react poorly. It's in human nature. It just is. There are characters in TV shows who are like that, where they're like, oh yeah, I am never bothered by anything. And then all of a sudden, a couple episodes into the show, something comes up that bothers them really bad, and the other characters are like, oh, what's going on? What's going on here? You need to calm down. You need to calm down, and you need to go to therapy and all that. It happens. I'm not going to name shows, but I'm sure you can think of some examples. But yeah, these people in fiction are actually accurate depictions of the people who have been indoctrinated by Red Pill in real life. That they're like, yeah, no, I'm just going to be special. And then the Red Pill thing collapses, though. The Red Pill collapses. And it's funny because Red Pillers accuse others, people who disagree with them, of brainwashing people and, dominating the media and having all these characters who are just goofy and dopey and, the opposite of Red Pill. And that's problematic, they say. And that actually is kind of true. There are some guys in media who act really goofy and dopey to the point that it's like, okay, this is beyond just Red Pill. This is just being such a buffoon, such a love-struck buffoon, and such a, oh, just be yourself type person, that it's embarrassing and that no guy would want to act like that in real life. But Red Pill is the opposite extreme. Red Pill is the opposite extreme, and you have to walk away from it. You have to say no to it. I recommend that you go to the subreddit X Red Pill to see some people's stories about how they've implemented some of these Red Pill strategies in real life and how they've backfired on them, or at least how they've not worked out in quite the way that they wanted them to. It's not all rosy when you implement the Red Pill. It's just not. Now, of course, Red Pill also teaches people even worse things, like, oh, you should make women fear you. I actually heard a Red Pill dating coach say that one time. Make your woman fear you. That is utterly wrong. That is utterly wrong. And if I had to guess what he meant by that, it means have a serious amount of respect and an understanding that she can never get her way with you. Never get her way with you, Like, oh, she bosses you around. Well, she's not going to win. She's not going to win. But that is different from fearing. Fear opens up a whole new door, a whole new bag of worms of issues. Like, what, are you going to beat her up if she does something wrong? What? No, you don't want them to fear you in that sense. You don't want them to fear you in general. You want them to respect you. And you want to respect them too, by the way. Why is this a one-way street between the woman and the man? The woman has to respect the man. The man doesn't need to respect the woman. It goes without saying that you've both got to respect each other, of course. That's the foundation of a relationship. That, along with love and sexual attraction and all that stuff. So, of course, there's got to be respect. Can there be an understanding on the woman's part that, okay, the man has got some extra power, that the man is difficult to win against? Yeah. If a man is very physically strong, if he looks like he could beat up anyone in a fight, that's why height, in fact, tends to lead to more sexual attraction from women. A taller man is generally going to be a more attractive man to women. That's why that's attractive, is it makes you more likely to win a fight. Being taller means you weigh more, you're bigger, so you can win fights more easily. But being capable of inflicting great strength, great damage, I guess you could say, with sheer muscular force, brute force, being strong, that's not the same as just instilling fear in women. And these Red Pill coaches, they want to make it seem like, oh, you've got to intentionally instill fear in your woman. That is entirely wrong. That is toxic masculinity. So we've got the repression problem. We've got the opposite of being yourself problem, which is, oh yeah, no, I'm not bothered by anything. I just don't, I'm just perfectly confident. Nothing will ever faze me ever. I'm just that tough. And then something comes along and it does faze you and it pisses you off and it makes you look disingenuous. And then we've got the fear angle, which is arguably the most egregious, the most toxically masculine argument you could make. Your woman should fear you. That's entirely wrong. There's also the idea that, oh, you should make your woman fear that, you're going to leave her. I've heard that too. Fear that you're going to leave her. Why on earth? Okay, look, it's good to be a guy who seems like he's attractive to other women, but that's just something on its own. She should not think that, oh, you're gonna leave her if she messes up, if she starts, putting on a few pounds or something, if she starts acting a little too sassy or something. No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. You should not get any sort of idea to your woman that, oh, if you don't meet my standards, I'm gonna leave you. Men wouldn't like that if women did that either. No, do unto others. Do unto others the golden rule. Don't make your woman think you're about to leave her for someone else. You wouldn't want her to do that to you. So yeah, there's a hypocrisy problem with the red pill as well. Hypocrisy in that, oh, men should do all these things, but by the way, don't ever let women do these things. And that's not to say that men and women aren't different, but just because men and women are different doesn't mean that we should apply different moral frameworks to them. That, oh, it's okay for a man to do this, but it's not okay for a woman to do the exact same thing. That's totally wrong. That's totally warped. So yeah, I've explained to you why I think red pill wins people over initially, and some of the areas in which red pill is correct, where it's like you don't want to be too much of a spaz, you don't want to be perturbed by everything, you don't want to be yelling and screaming all the time. You do want to generally be calm. But to what end? To what end? Calm about everything, unbothered by everything to the point where you're basically lying to people, you're being insincere and being like, oh yeah, no, that doesn't bother me. When in reality, in your head, you're just boiling with anger, boiling with resentment or something, and you need to sometimes talk about those problems. Maybe not with your woman, maybe with your friends, maybe with your parents, something like that. You don't want to dump all your emotions on your woman at once. Of course, I understand it's overwhelming. But what red pill is prescribing is repression in that regard. Repression, hypocrisy, and this false idea that you should make your woman fear you. These are totally wrong. Let me know what you think about the red pill in the comments below. Like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. I don't usually do dating advice videos, but I feel I need to weigh in on the drawbacks of the red pill and what they get wrong because it's become more pervasive. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.